you can't necessarily predict how long that startup time is going to be for them. For some folks, it may be a month. For some folks, depending on the size of their infrastructure, the number of resources they're supporting, it could be longer. How are you kind of tracking and measuring that? I guess, what are the important questions that a customer should be asking themselves to try to see kind of how big they are as far as what they're looking at and kind of where Pensando is going to fit to try to make that a manageable process for them?
Yes. Yeah, I think that the biggest is really what are the goals, right? If this is a full, say, network redesign, well, there's other considerations that have to be made as well, and we're a part of that process. If the idea is I have this network and I'm trying to figure out how to insert these services, then that's a very clear place for us to start to understand, okay, these are the ways that these are the things that we will need to do in order to get the hardware in the network position so that we can offer these types of services. But I will kind of also elaborate or swing back to another point is, a lot of, I mentioned topology. We were talking about the management plane here. I mean, a lot of it comes down to, what does that need to look like in order, and then you kind of say, okay, if the traffic comes in, what are the things that I need to do? But how do I need to build that infrastructure so that I can make these things happen, right? And a lot of that happens on the management plane. That's the interface between maybe the VMware environment or the PSM and AFC. And we've actually done some work on building out virtualized environments that have those components in it. That gives us the ability to build a mock, say, fabric that matches the customer's infrastructure using a VM image from Aruba. We can use AFC to control them and to build them, and we can start getting comfortable using those tools on how we're actually going to build this, right? Then we take that data, those things that we have, and we can actually put it into physical hardware. Because one of the things that the virtual side doesn't give us is the ability to actually do the stress test and the actual scale, right? But we can start to build out what this is going to look like, build the configurations. I'll give you an example. Say they're moving to some sort of a new overlay, right? Maybe they want to build out some sort of new overlay, or maybe they're switching or adding it in. We can actually build out all that configuration, all that networking information. We can build out what those policies need to look like. We can test it on VMs, and then we can take that and transfer it to a physical space, a physical infrastructure where you've already done that kind of planning work, and now you actually get to go test it. So, or the hope there is that that's going to take out a lot of that wasted time of doing it, right? We want to know what the ideas are. We want to be able to build a replica to show the concept. Does the concept work? And then as soon as the customer is ready, we already have that configuration that we can then send over to them, and they can start from there. So,
gotcha. And that sounds like would also make it an easier, more manageable process if you're kind of keeping your network infrastructure the way it is, or the design the way it is, but implementing Pensando maybe to fill a gap, like a small gap here and there as well, correct?
Absolutely. And the other thing it helps us do is it helps us really be more clear and have more input on helping them figure out the automation that may be needed in order to do these types of things, right? Especially at scale. So it's not like we would just provide it to you and say, hey, figure out how to automate this. We can actually, show you that process at a small scale, but it's the same thing. You just, what I mean? Like when you have more devices, it just happens more times, right? But we can actually start to show you, hey, what do these calls need to look like? What do these integrations need to look like? What information can we do? Basically like the template, right? We can build the template without having to do anything for the customer other than provide us the information that matches what they want to see. And then when we go back to them, or when we go on site, when they actually want to start seeing it or building it, in a real environment, they're going to have so much information already. They're going to be able to start, with hit the ground running, basically.